So you'll have the full video, and it does record audio as well, which is really cool. So you guys should see me in that picture, right? I'm orange, red, and yellow, I'm sure. So everything around me is blue and black. This is set up to black, cold, white, hot. So all of our black and blue spots are the coldest things inside the screen. It will fluctuate based on whatever is inside the screen. So I'm going to take me out of it, because obviously my skin temperature is way warmer than the ambient temperature. So that tree above should have fluctuated to orange, red, and yellow. Okay, so really what we're looking for here are black and blue spots to move on their own. So in the event that we actually see, like, there's going to be black and blue in there, but if they start moving intelligently, we obviously have something going on. So I will tell you, this isn't like one of those devices where I capture something with it every night, but when I do, it is super exciting. So, Captain Skeptic, this is all about you.
Cool.
You're going to hold it horizontal for me all night long and be a cameraman. There'll be certain areas where we're going to be where there's other people's vehicles. Yeah, go ahead and check out their temperature, make sure they don't have COVID.
Yeah, they're real.
Yes, they're real. So you're just going to kind of maybe pretend to just kind of hold a phone kind of thing, because people get a little weird about, you know, cameras near their cars, even though they can't really see the fact that we can't tell what make and model it is and all that mess. Now, if I was a car thief, that would be a great tool, because we could see which cars have been there the longest, because the temperature of the car goes with the ambient temperature. All right, so moving on. Who's the chatty Cathy between the two of you?
Kelly.
Kelly? Awesome.
Probably me.
Spirit boxes. So, do you guys watch the ghost hunting shows?
I do.
You do. You don't? Not at all. I didn't think it did. So, spirit boxes. They allow us to communicate with the dead. How do they do that? Sweeping through all of the FM radio stations and giving us white noise. Now, on your TV shows, it's the really annoying white staticky noise, okay? And then they give you a phrase of something they think they want you to hear. Most of it's BS. So this is real life. So we're going to slow this thing down. We want the radio chatter to come through. We want the DJs, the song lyrics, whatever voices you hear. I don't care whose it is, if it belongs to the radio or not. If you can make it out, let us know what it is. It's a 50-50 shot that it might actually mean something. The great thing about this, guy, is if you miss it because you're not used to listening to something like this, it's going to record the entire session for you, even when it's on mute, and it will not record outside noise. So it is literally recording just the radio sweep, which is really nice. So when I give it back to you, it's just going to be one nice even level volume. It's not based on whatever volume you have it at. It's recording the entire thing. So if you miss something, I'm going to go through it for probably a good 30 to 45 minutes in the morning, looking at our hotspots. And then I'm going to give you the audio markers of what I heard, whether it's relevant or not. It's going to help train your ear to listen to the hour and a half minimum that I'm going to give you tomorrow morning. Okay, so I'm going to set it up to go ahead and start recording. Again, some people, they really just have a hard time hearing what to listen for. And they're like, all I hear is radio. I'm like, that's what I want you to hear. So it's okay if you're having a hard time. And your TV shows, like, they don't like the radio chatter to come through, but let's face it, you guys are amateurs. I do this every day. So the radio chatter means quite a bit to me, because I do get quite a bit of evidence. For example, I was talking about a woman yesterday that died at the age of 84, and what did I hear out of here? $84. The exact same time that I'm talking about that woman who died at 84. Obviously some kind of relevant evidence. Numbers don't lie. So you have one little button to worry about. It's the volume button, okay? It's a little turnstile wheel right here at the top. For our hearing. That's exactly what I just heard, just so you get the gist of what I'm looking for. So, again, you just turn it up, turn it down. When I'm telling stories, obviously you want to keep it on mute, because it's already recording. We're going to be able to listen to it again in the morning. Okay. So, that's your job. Can you listen and chat to me all night long?
Do I get the EVP thing?
What do you mean the EVP thing?
Or is that?
That's the
right.
That's okay, because you guys are all going to work together as a group anyway.
Okay.
So this way you guys, and you're all one party, so feel free to interchange.
Perfect.
And that way I know who's got what. So.
Awesome.
All right. Now keep in mind, I do have this bag set up for a whole group of 10, so I do have extra tools in here. But I'm pulling out the important stuff that I always pull out with this size of a group, and I'm going to be using a few things myself. Now you should know what this is because you watch the ghost hunting shows. Do you know how it works?
Isn't it like some sort of magnetic field?
Right. Okay.
What's it called?
It's an EMF meter, electromagnetic fields. It actually measures 3 different types, which is why your ghost hunting shows love to use them, because they can manipulate it. So the first one is natural. It comes from the earth. It's not going to do anything. That's why it's green. Okay. The second one is from electronic devices, wiring, cell phones, parking meters. Any of those things is going to make it go into a pulse or a rhythm. TV shows love to play with that and kind of throw some cell phones or anything around it to make it go off outside of camera. So it's a trick, okay? They're playing off your fears. What we want this thing to actually do is go erratic. We want it to light up like a Christmas tree. I want no rhythm whatsoever. I'm still going to try to debunk things when it's even going off even a little bit. So anything off that green, we kind of need to analyze what it's doing. Doesn't make any noise, doesn't vibrate. You need to tell us when it's doing anything besides what it's doing right now. And I will also tell you, and I'm also about truth. Like I said, that's my gimmick. So in the event Willie sees something on the camera, I have different types of thermometers to either prove it or debunk it. So I'm gonna go through the motions as we go through this. Okay, so it's very fair and open, and I'm not going to make anything up. I'm not Zach Bagans. I'm not gonna have the demon within me and things like that. That's not what I do. But last but not least, oh, let me actually pull this up just while it's working. Facebook has been acting weird today. So just in the event we see something on the camera, this is kind of what we're looking for. So this is a video I caught in one of the locations we're gonna go to. And this is a wall right here. See the big heated wall? And you're gonna see two living people right about there going past the wall. Let me rewind it so you guys can see it again. There's two heads that are gonna pop up that they're living folks, okay? They're living. You see their heads? Let's fast forward a little bit and find some dead people. So right above that same wall, once it pans around, you're gonna see two dead people going the opposite way. 1, 2.
Oh.
There's
This is
always
a dark shape?
yeah. Black is the coldest area. I will ask that you always try to keep one of us in view at all times. Why? Because our skin temperature is going to give you a nice big array of color. I normally do this demonstration in the next slot, but I figured, it was on my screen, I'll show it off. When you have that array of color, it's easy to find those black spots that are moving. There was a person in view that should have been the same color as those two black heads that came by, but they weren't. I've had fire chiefs and mechanics and people that actually use that tool try to analyze it for me, and they're like, it is what it is. You caught an actual apparition. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. So I'm going to use two different types of spirit boxes on my phone. This one will give us a word randomly in the center of the screen from time to time. Okay, and then it's going to save them to a list. We're going to clear out my last tour. They had 82 terms, which is quite a bit for a 90-minute tour. And you guys are going to have the full list. Here's the gist about this. This is meant to be a game and a hoax. 80% of this is bullshit. I'm just going to put it out there. Okay, so it's the 5 to 20% that are it's going to be relatable terms to where we are, something going on with us, our names, whatever. I will also give you a link. I'll highlight the word in the list and then put a link with why it's relevant and then show you where I got my information from. So again, not hiding anything. I want you to see that the shit's real. It's a real deal. So I'm going to show you something else here real quick, and then we're going to get this party started. I'm going to use a reverse spirit box. I debunked this one as well. You have to imagine I have enough software to analyze EVPs and figure things out. They claimed that this was FM radio stations from like your spirit box, and they just reversed the audio. Well, that's pretty much impossible because that's a live signal, and I know that. I have a degree in communications. Okay, so I'm like, all right, let me figure this out. I put it in my software and I flip it forwards. What is it? It's a man and a woman literally saying random words, which is perfectly fine. It's still white noise. It sounds like gibberish to us in real time, but when I catch something in real time or on the recording, it's in forward motion. So here's what it sounds like. Let me turn it up. Sorry, I always keep the volume down. So that's what it sounds like in real time. Complete garbage, right? Can't make anything out. So, same place as the thermal imaging camera that I just showed you. This is what I caught with that reverse spirit box. Let's see if it'll play.
Baked beans breakfast. Baked beans breakfast.
You guys catch that?
Baked beans breakfast?
Okay, so yeah, exactly. So your spirit box told me I'll fix you. Baked beans breakfast was caught in real time, and then that digital word list gave me the word tea. I'll fix you baked beans breakfast and tea. That's a breakfast over in the UK.
5 seconds.
Now, I was talking about a woman from England in the 1700s when that came up. Now, I didn't catch all of that until the next morning when I looked at all the data. All of those came in within 2.5 minutes of each other. It formed a full sentence from 3 different devices. Do you see how I have to look at this as a collective and kind of find those clues? This is more about putting clues together and puzzles than anything else. I still learn new things about all the stories I tell and add different things. And I'm like, do I tell this part of the story? It's going to elongate it by an extra 10 minutes, so forth and so on. But at times, it just depends on how relevant it is. So, with all of that said, we're going to get this going. You guys tired of hearing me talk yet? I hope not, because we got at least another hour and 15 minutes of this. So, where you're standing is haunted. It used to be a place called Big John's Tavern back in the 1970s. Now, Big John was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. Here's a funny story. Last night's evidence, that spirit box, somebody was routing off a phone number as I'm telling this story, and the last 4 numbers of that phone number, 1947. Like, oh shit, we got something good. So, again, numbers don't lie. I love when numbers come through because I can prove that. Anyway, so 1947 New York Giants, he used to sit in the back of the bar, and we had the Citadel nearby. So it's about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles from here. And the cadets would come over after training, and they would come in and have a drink. Big John would tell the bartender if they were of age or not to drink. One night, 2 guys come in, they're not ready, they're not old enough to drink. John tells the bartender, cut them off, get them out of here. They get pissed, they leave. Sorry, is my language bothering anybody?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. I kind of have to get a temperature of my groups sometimes. Anyway, so the guys get mad, they leave. They come back the next night and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. Big John sees what's going on. They get into a little rough and tumble. Big bar fight, couple of shots were fired. John gets shot in the neck. The guy's all beat up on the floor. John goes back to the bar. He looks at the bartender and he says, get me a beer, get him an ambulance. Now, I just told you a story where nobody died. So what the hell's haunting the place? The bullet that hit John in the neck ricocheted and landed into the wall. The bullet hole, to my knowledge, is still here. They are doing renovations to the place, so I don't know how much of that is still true. Okay, so I'll have to actually dive into that. They say people that sit in the front of the bar have a tendency to get queasy, nauseous, dizzy, just not feeling well, kind of thing. I bring this stuff up on purpose because I don't know how paranormal activity is going to affect any of you. As you can imagine, I'm telling you this as a health hazard, not to scare you. So if anybody feels any of those things slightly, I need to know. We'll get you to a safer place and we will move on. Is that fair? I've had people drop like wet noodles. I'm not kidding. On a nice cool night like this, just too much activity for them. Psychics and mediums normally don't make it. It's like a 50-50 shot with them. So, let's talk about something other than our own health. So the mantle that's above your heads was part of our big earthquake in 1886. I say big earthquake because it's Charleston. We don't get earthquakes. So if you didn't know we had a big earthquake in 1886, you do now. A piece of that mantling broke off in the front of the building, and allegedly this is where the first death occurred from that earthquake. I don't have any viable proof of that. Of course, it was a story through the grapevine that I've heard. So again, take that for what it's worth. But there have been darkened shadows seen right out here in front of this bar in the middle of the night, normally between 2:30 and 3:30, which is after the bar closes. So again, we'll take that for what it's worth. You guys ready to go ghost hunting?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, shut up, let's move. All right, let's go this way. Oh, look at that, I got the word beast. That's great.
Ooh, sorry, Kelly. Okay. Splat
Am I supposed to have this thing playing all the time?
No.
Okay. I'm just holding it.
Yep, for now. So when I say spirit box is up, and I'm going to show you
Checking everything.
because it's not just a turn it on and listen kind of thing. Like you're going to be interacting.
I've confirmed you're not the ghost, Allison.
Good.
Haven't been possessed yet.
Not yet. Yeah, are possessions real? Do you think possessions have happened?
Oh, look at it. It's going up.
Oh, good. Good. So with that particular meter, it can either start when we walk in, sometimes it'll wait until we leave, kind of like a, hey, I want to say something. So we're going to talk about that more in a second. As far as what other questions do you have about possessions? Do you know somebody who's been possessed?
No. Would someone's temperature drop? Would I be able to see that?
I have
through?
not tested that theory yet.
Okay. So we don't know. Inconclusive.
So there's differences between possession and channeling.
Okay.
Okay, so channeling, so you have to imagine that I do this for a living. So yes, I'm very interested in paranormal and different, like you all have electronic devices and so do I. Okay, so we don't have any manual devices, so there's no dowsing rods, no tarot cards, no Ouija boards. I use those things at home. I don't use dowsing rods because I think they're bogus, but I've never used them, so can't say that for sure. But Ouija boards and spirit boards I do have. So do I use them? Sure I do. My wife and I still need to kind of test things because we've only had that camera for about 6 months now. So we want to test to see what happens with that camera because I've been channeled before. So I don't remember all of it, obviously, the epilepsy. You're going to remember, I have epilepsy, which means I'm the weak-minded one out of all of you. So if we have any kind of activity, I'm the guy they're usually going to go after. Yes, have I taken shit home before? Yeah, it's never fun. So, but with that being said, I do have things on me now to kind of keep us protected. So I have a lot of stones that have been blessed by psychic friends of mine. You're going pretty nuts. That's awesome. So
You've got a friend.
She does have a friend.
Look, get the camera.
I'll film you.
So, with that being said, we'll talk about more of the things that I've done and all of that when we're a little bit more off the air, because kids do listen to this, and I don't always like the darker stuff to be up there.
Sure.
So, let's talk about let's talk about where we are first off. Let's give you guys a little bit of history to get you started. First off, the Crew Cafe over there does claim to have a haunting. I did walk through with an EMF. I can probably, if I were to do a full investigation, probably debunk it with some old wiring that was in the walls of the EMF I did get. Gotta remember, it's always sketchy when you're inside of a building. They have a claim of a suicide, but I don't have any records of the building because it used to be a slave home. So I don't know if that's an expansion, a rebuild, or what. But the plat of land is just wonky. Like there's not a whole lot there. Right past that, there's a stop sign. And Revolutionary War times, Charleston was much skinnier. So we're going to mention that several times tonight. Ship rolls in, water's right behind us. So it shoots a cannon, and the cannonball lands right at that stop sign. No deaths, no tragedies. I just like to appease the skeptics because they're not always into the paranormal stuff. So again, a little bit of history. We did find pieces of that cannonball there, and it was a neighborhood at the time. So you can imagine how scary it was to have a cannonball land pretty much, what, 1 block away from our house?
Yeah.
Pretty scary stuff. We can't even imagine stuff like that today. So where are you now? This is the Red Barn lot. Okay, this is where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. The horses are still inside. None of you have lasers. I make sure of that. Lasers, there's laser laws in Charleston. I do have lasers to help us see things that we can't see with the naked eye, and I do have different thermometers that have, infrared, lasers on them. So I wanted to make sure, I don't want to use any lasers tonight. I don't want to have to watch over my back for cops all the time. So at any rate, the horses are still in there. This is the same Red Barn where they kept horses that delivered milk to Charleston. So if that dates it for you, 1860s to 1920s, roughly, that's my guesstimate. There's no real history here. However, the place is haunted as shit. So between Big John's and whatever's going on inside that Red Barn, now, I've talked to these folks. None of them have any ghost stories for me of what's happening inside the building. However, I do get terms like stable or, related to the horses, which we're going to talk about that spirit box. So let's start there. Now that since we already did the demonstration on the camera back there, a little early. Sorry, I'm a little off cuff tonight. It's scripted, but not. Can you all tell? So I do have all this stuff memorized. So spirit boxes. This is not your... Oh, I got the name Sarah. That's interesting. Anybody know Sarah that's passed on? Okay, good. None of you spoke up right away, so I figured nobody was freaking out yet. So spirit boxes, this is not a TV show. Okay, this isn't Joey, why'd you kill Billy kind of mentality. We're not doing that. We're not provoking anything. Most of my ghosts are pretty friendly. I'll say 99% of them. So we're literally going to... Oh, let's start with no yes or no questions. So is somebody here? And they say no, that still means somebody's here. Second off, if they say yes, or you think you heard the word yes, and they really said houses, S and O are two of the most common sounds in the phonetic English language. We're going to stay away from yes or no questions. Always try to find a way to rephrase it. Okay? There's always another way to rephrase the question. We're going to start off with something simple that you already know the answer to. Because the next location, I'm not giving you any answers. The spirit box is going to give you answers. We know that the barn is red. Is anybody colorblind here? If they are, I offended you. My apologies. But I'm telling you right now that damn barn is red. Okay? There's no deviating away from the word red. You're going to ask, tell me what color the barn is.
Okay.
Whoever's here, tell me what color the barn is. Oh, look at that. They're answering us through the damn EMF.
And I
Now-
turn up the volume on this?
Not yet. I'm getting to you.
I'm so ready.
I know. Well, here's the thing. Once I'm done explaining this to you, you guys are going to kind of wander off while I do my own little session here, so you have more audio to listen to.
Okay.
So with that, and they don't give you an answer, say after 30 seconds, you don't hear the color red, ask it again. You want to give them time to muster up the energy to actually tell us the right answer. Okay, so 2, 3, maybe 4 tries. You're still not getting the color red. Okay, fine. Tell us what's inside the barn. Now you've just opened up a whole new can of worms. You know that there's horses in there, but those horses are animals. They're draft horses. They delivered milk. I got the word calcium on the way here, which was interesting, because milk is a pretty solid source of calcium, but that was on the drive over. I always turn it on for a little bit just to let it get itself settled. But at any rate, those are the kinds of terms where I have to put the clues together. If you want to go into something that you already know, like, hey, what color is my jacket? What color are my boots? Whatever question that you know the answer to. What is your name? You don't know that. You can't prove that yet. So I don't know all the teammates of Big John. And because what I normally do is say, give me a jersey number, and then if I hear a name after that, 83 Frank. Okay, great. I can prove if it's number 83 and his name is Frank, because I have the roster. You see where I'm going with this? So I want things I can prove. I want things that you know that you could prove right now on the spot. Those things are more than likely colors. So You guys are going to wander. You're going to follow where the EMF is going to take you. In here, for the thermal imaging camera, you have a bunch of different materials. You have metal, you have asphalt, wood, brick, those kind of things. You want to see how it's going to fluctuate. Walk slowly, keep it horizontal, because I do upload that to YouTube. Oh, did I tell you about the red square? I think I missed that. See the red square on your screen?
Yeah.
It means it's recording.
Okay.
Okay? If you hit that and it turns to a circle, you got to let me know.
Okay.
Just hit it again and say, Nick, I accidentally hit it, but I turned it back on. Okay?
Cool.
That means I got to splice some video together, and then everybody has to wait for their evidence. You're the jerk. So, see why I give it to a skeptic? So I do want the three of you to go kind of wander around, get used to how all of these devices work. We're going to spend maybe 5 to 8 minutes in here. I'm going to see what I can capture out of my spirit boxes, but we are going to stay separated so that way we're not crossing the streams. I know, bad Ghostbuster joke, but it works here. I don't want you listening to my spirit box because you're going to have the audio. I don't want to be hearing yours until I approach you. Fair enough?
Fair
Go
enough.
wander, stay within the lot.
Okay.
Get used to your tools, ghost hunters.
I need to keep at least one of you in the
frame at all
camera.
times.
Yeah, keep somebody's skin in the camera. That's the goal.
Screen.
Kelly, you're wandering in the wrong direction.
No, you're good. You're good. Just going to see what you got going on. So I'm looking at it to make sure it's not a pattern. So right now I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You got a little bit of a pattern here, which means it could be coming from the building. I don't like coulds. Let's get something a little bit more confirmed. So keep wandering around.
Ask it a question.
You have to watch out for Allison is the one with all the activity.
I'm watching both
I
of
did
you.
ask it a question.
Did you hear anything?
I got some sick jazz though.
You got some what?
Sick jazz.
Ooh. Everything's really red right now. Is it still going off, or did it just? Is it going quieter, or is it going harder? Stronger or softer? Ask it again.
What color is the barn? That's kind of a pattern. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, a little bit of red. Oh, that's not consistent, is it? There you go. How about the sewer?
Ooh, check it. It's very dark.
There's nothing. No. Where you at? Ooh. In red?
Is it getting harder, or is it?
Yeah. Look, it's going bananas.
I don't see anything on my screen. At least nothing that I.
Oh, it just died.
This is what?
It went from like
All the way.
ooh.
What color is the wall?
Interesting. So it's got to be close to the barnish, I guess, right? Oh, it's coming. It's coming from the office.
And you are walking on a sewer line.
I tried to put it down to the grate.
Yeah, but there's nothing near the sewer line. There's no electrical wires above you, except for there. There's nothing that should be making that thing go off. Like literally nothing. Again, sometimes it doesn't do anything. The fact that you're getting activity is good.
Is Kelly on the shore?
What?
Are they speaking to you, Kelly?
You can turn it up a little bit, just not loud enough for the horses to hear. They're already getting a little restless from their day, hanging out in the cold.
Sounds like the horses are agitated. Oh, we got a red.
Red. Let's see if we'll get a double red. Double red.
Think double red means something good.
Which means it's like the highest. Oh, it's kind of freaking.
So it's when it's like not lighting up in a pattern, right?
Yeah. Ooh, ask a question.
How should we ask it?
What lives in the barn?
No, because there could be lots of answers to that.
Okay.
Alright, fine. What lives in the barn?
Do you hear anything? Ask it what day it is.
What day is it?
Whoa!
And did you see the church bells?
Yeah.
When I say what day it is?
No, we didn't. Well, we asked it what day it was, and then the church bell started ringing, and then it went crazy. Now it's gone.
Yeah, imagine that. That's why they call it ghost hunting. You gotta keep moving around.
Yeah.
Alright, so everybody got the gist of how it's basically your devices work. You
Yep.
guys ready to learn some real history now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, let's head out this way. 'Cause I'm not getting much on my end at all.
Ding, 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 ding.
Sundays are nice and quiet, especially in the winter.
Yeah. But parking would be neat.
Where do you guys park?
Right over there.
Okay. It'll be nice and easy to get back to you because we're going to end on Cumberland Street and it's only like a 2-minute walk.
Oh, yeah. There's an electrical button.
The ghost is inside.
Hey, she caught it, right?
You see that it works?
That's where we're at. Alright, so, I know, another beautiful sight. I'm sorry. Parking lots are a weird thing with this tour. So, you're getting a lot of activity, and again, I'll explain a little bit why. You're standing on the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion site. So the mansion would have been in the front of this lot facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden would have been lined up with that tree on the left all the way across. And we are standing where the slaves' quarters would have been. So last night when I stood here, I got the word slavery right away. So it was kind of okay, let me know if they're here. So there's nothing underneath this lot. They're actually going to be putting a hotel here. It was supposed to be already here, which is going to ruin my tour because this is a big spot for me. And they're not going to do an archaeological dig. Wow, you got a lot going on. That's cool. Hopefully that'll help us. Now, here's the story that goes on here. Who the heck were Charles and Eliza Pinckney? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew were signers of our Constitution. Pretty cool stuff for South Carolina, right? The son was raised here. I hate politics. It's 2020. Let's move on. So Eliza Pinckney married Charles at a young age because her dad was sick over in England. Baked beans breakfast, and the little shadow people were up in that corner over there. This is where all of that occurred. So, dad was sick, he wanted all his kids home, she didn't want to go, so she got married and stayed in the United States. They built a mansion, they had a family, all is well. Dad gets better, dad starts sending gifts over from England. One of those gifts happened to be the plant indigo. So you guys live here, you guys should know a little bit about indigo. Hopefully you guys know what indigo is, no?
Yeah,
So
the
indigo,
dye, right?
yeah, indigo makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. We still use it today. It's a pretty big deal. So she planted that indigo here, but she already owned slaves, part of the culture. Your brain is haunted.
I'm related to the Pickneys. By marriage.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
What?
Like through marriage, but
So
I'm like,
here's the funny
I'm
thing.
familiar
And
with
you're
Charles.
keeping that? You just decided to tell us that now?
Well, she didn't know I was going to tell her.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't know
true.
you were
You
going to
didn't
tell
know
me
we were
about
in the
this.
parking lot.
So, funny thing, 2 weeks ago, I get a gentleman walks up to me and he says, "Hi, my name's Charles Coatsworth Pinckney." And I looked at him, I was like, "No, you're not. That's the nephew. Charles Coatsworth Pinckney. That's who he was named after." So he had to walk up to everybody and tell everybody he was Charles Coatsworth Pinckney, especially as I'm telling this story. So he's like, I'm the nephew. I'm on the nephew side. Okay, let me finish up. So anyway, but that's interesting. We'll have to talk about how far removed you are. They said for marriage, so it depends on which side and this, that, and the other. So anyway, she already owned slaves, part of the Gullah culture, which are the slaves brought over from Africa, and they already knew how to cultivate this plant based on our temperatures, which was really cool because then that made it profitable, and they moved it over to Sneed Farm. You guys know Sneed Farm has a Charles Pinckney memorial site over there, and there's all kinds of artifacts and things that they found on that farm over there. Now, she had to pick up the indigo and move it over there, but then she used Dad's contacts overseas to be able to sell the indigo to all of the other countries, making it a huge cash crop for us here in Charleston and pretty much saving all of the colonies. Our rice plantations were pretty much going to shit at that time, and we needed another cash crop to really bail us out. Indigo was that crop. So, talking 1700s colonial times, no such thing as a businesswoman. So Eliza is a pretty big deal. No other tour is going to talk about her. I love to brag about her, and usually whenever I bring up her name, it usually goes nuts. So, there's also a light on the back of Five Church Restaurant that I kind of use as a barometer when it is on. It's not on tonight, but it'll flash in sync with that EMF meter. So, Eliza, again, a lot of weird facts about her that you guys are going to ask about on your spirit box. Okay, so first off, she was the second wife of Charles, named Eliza, back to back. So she goes by her maiden name, Eliza Blank Pinckney. However, the first wife did the exact same thing, Eliza Blank Pinckney. They both go by their maiden name. They both may come through, just depends. So you can ask, what was your maiden name? Not middle name, maiden name. A lot of people get that confused. Let's see, you can ask what happened to the mansion. She likes to talk about that. You can ask anything you want to about Eliza's death. So how old she was, where did she die, where is she buried, so forth and so on. I want to make sure we're kind of out of harm's way. It's the only way in and out of this lot. We don't want to make those tonight. We're searching for them. So the other odd thing about her death is you can ask which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So that's how important she was that a president took her to her grave. So it's a pretty big deal. And I've gotten that even several times. Full name. Really cool stuff. Let's see what else. You can ask anything about her daughter, as far as like just try to find out what the daughter's name. They did have 4 children. I do tell you to stay away from the other 3 kids just because one of them's a tragedy, and once we start poking around with that, all activity stops. So we're going to stay away from all of those things. Please don't be tempted. You will pretty much ruin the whole tour. But try to find out what the daughter's name was and see what kind of relationship they had. Those are pretty simple questions. So I will tell you that I don't see any in here tonight. Maybe up in that right-hand corner. We've been having some trouble with homeless in here. The cops are doing a pretty good job about keeping them out. Be kind of weary of the gate. They like to sleep up there by the gate. I think there's one over there on the right. I can't tell. You could probably tell better with the thermal imaging camera than I could. You get an actual heat signature up there. But or they like to hang out near the dumpster. So I will probably head over that way. With my spirit box, you guys stick together as a group. We're going to wander this lot. This is a big finale, so poke those questions, give her time to answer. Now, also keep in mind that we have 3 spirit boxes running and 2 pieces of audio. If you don't hear the answer could come to me on one of my 2 or our pieces of audio that you guys will have to listen to in the morning. So with that being said, I often ask questions that you don't know what I'm going to ask. So if I say, what's the sign say? And you said, it just said private tow-away zone. What does that mean? Well, I just asked, what does the sign say? You see how that works? You're 50 to 100 yards away from me, question, answer. So that's verifiable proof that we're getting intelligent responses. I do it often because it does happen often. So we'll see what comes out of this. You have no idea what questions I'm going to ask. Hopefully, I know what you're going to ask, so I'll be listening for your answers as well. So, because I already gave you the sample questions. But have fun with this. Be wary of the homeless. Be wary of people's cars. If you see somebody trying to walk through here, just kind of drop it down like nothing's going on. Again, we don't need to be screamed at tonight. It happens more often than you think. And with lasers, we don't have any, but they do set off car alarms, and it's never fun to run away from car alarms with a whole group of people. Never looks good. So, go have fun. Because you're getting EMF here, which means you're probably going to have it throughout the entire lot. And again, they've never even done a dig here, so there's no electrical lines running. You're just kind of the proof that something's hanging out. So go find the spot that's red, so that way Kelly knows when to start asking questions, besides your brain.
It goes off on your brain.
I'm gonna have to...
Maybe she's here.
It's all the electrical activity in your head.
I know,
Must
right?
be.
All those
What
wires.
questions should I start with, guys?
I don't even, who's the pallbearer at your
Oh.
wedding?
The wedding and funeral.
Funeral.
Which U.S. president was a pallbearer? giant.
The giant?
He just said, that's a giant.
Maybe he was tall. Was it Abraham Lincoln?
When I came here for Christmas last year,
Yeah.
I got to go to my cousin's wife's parents' house, which was like an old house,
Yeah.
and it was so cool. It was like in their family for years and years.
Are you hearing anything? Ask him a different question. Or
I
ask her.
just asked him a different question, and then it got loud for a second, but I couldn't actually hear what they said. What was Eliza's daughter's name?
Is it going wild?
She was for a second.
Yeah.
They like you.
It's that family connection.
Yeah. They must feel some sort of connection, right?
Please help me, Mary.
Whoa, what is that?
Look at me.
What else should I ask? Did you see something?
I saw a little dark spot. Right there.
Really?
What question should we ask?
I don't know. You're the spirit boxer.
I'm
Am I
sorry,
supposed to do
sorry,
your job
sorry.
too?
How old was Eliza when she died?
I actually saw a black smudge.
Next to me?
It was like there, and then it disappeared. It was at the corner, and then it disappeared.
Orb. What is your favorite food?
Ask her about the indigo.
What plant did your father send you? I got business.
Business. Here we go.
What happened to your house?
I'm not seeing anything anymore. Did it go up and then? Ooh, whoa!
It's really cold over here. Does
What-
it look blue?
What'd you say?
It feels like it's not cold over here.
I don't see anything like out of the ordinary in terms of temperature-wise. It's very interesting, like looking at your clothes, and I can see like your arms are typically the colder part of your body, and like your chest is really hot and stuff. Do you want to look at the thingy?
Yeah.
Do you want to use it?
No, I just wanted to let.
That's fine. Sometimes it like recalibrates. Okay. So like if I point it away,
Right.
or well, yeah, it'll adjust if like no one's around. Well, I guess not, but typically it does.
What's another question?
Alright, what are we asking? What are we hearing?
What was the one thing that I got? Oh, I asked about what plant her father sent her, and we got business.
Okay. It turned into a business. It's a clue. It's a stretch, but it's a clue. We'll take it. What else did we ask? Like, that's craziness.
I saw a dark something moving that way
Okay.
when we were over there.
Was it like past the wall or was it inside?
It was inside.
And you saw it on screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. Did you say anything so I know when to look for it?
I said like, "Whoa, what's that?"
Okay. Perfect. That's my cue. Got it. And it says accurate, so
Oh.
I'm not getting anything over there. Like I will tell you that that's a hot spot because the mansion did burn down. It was on the second floor, up in that corner. So I usually go up to that spot if the other spirit boxes aren't going to go up there to see, because that's usually a hot spot for me. I want you guys to have the experience because I see it every night. So keep asking us questions. By the way, I did ask the date of her birthday. So if you heard a month or a number, okay. The number is significant because it's also the same age she was when she got married. So again, kind of gives you a gist of what to listen for, because again, that answer can go anywhere.
Oh, we did ask about the pallbearer too, and there was a giant. So then we were trying to think of tall presidents.
Well, that could also be related to, we're still near Big John's.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool stuff. The fact that you're getting that much red is blowing my mind, and the fact that that light's not on, because again, that light is my barometer. That's the first thing I look for when we come out of the Red Barn lot is my light blinking over there.
It's you, Kelly.
It's got to be right near us, right? It's got to
Is
be
it right
around.
next to Kelly right now?
I don't see anything out of the ordinary, at least, to my untrained eye.
Well, let me mask up and come take a look.
Nothing seems too unusual, right?
What happened to the mansion?
Anything.
Yeah. Is it still? Yeah, it's blinking
There's that
red.
space between her elbow and her dip there. But that's
That or?
on, yeah, her right side, so like right
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What year did it burn down?
A little odd that the
What year
jacket
did it burn down?
her arm is the
That's-
same temperature as the ground. You see how even the pattern of her jacket?
Yeah.
There are like rips or tears or cords or something in that jacket.
88, 48?
I don't
Yeah, that's
know.
what I heard too.
88
What year did the mansion burn down?
1861.
Close.
What did you hear?
So that we got 88, 48.
88. Huh. Is it still going off? It's
Not
kind of dying
really.
down a little bit.
Calm down. Oh, spike.
Oh.
Now that you said that.
Oh boy.
What was the live
Is it that way?
Oh.
Let's see. I don't see anything too unusual.
Again, it's not the most active tool I have. It's just nice to have,
Yeah.
you know, the full record of everything you guys are watching. And that thing's going absolutely berserk. Go ahead and turn that up a little bit just so we can all kind of hear it. Maybe we can. There we go.
What was Eliza's middle name?
Meeting.
Aiden.
Colored gemstones.
U.S. Senate. Are there any senators in the family?
Yeah. I want to say the husband was a senator at one point.
Oh, that was loud.
Yeah.
Talk to the doctor.
Were any of them doctors?
No, but there's a story later about a doctor.
Ask me something
Oh,
else.
it's going wild.
Ask it something. Ask it something.
Eliza, tell us how old you were when you got married.
Look at it, it's going nuts.
Eliza, when's your birthday? Even the month will do.
Membership from another country. Effort, top
Effort. She didn't get married when she was 9. Times were rough, but they weren't that rough.
You're listening to us.
Listening to us. Eliza, your birthday, please. I'm not getting much at all. I mean, I got the word soldiers that popped up. That would have been the Suns.
How did the house burn down?
The Great Fire of 1861. It was just a fire that swept through Charleston.
Now it's dead.
Caught by Tyler.
Did anybody pass in the fire?
Eliza and Charles were already dead. So the house was in the house of the kid.
And nothing was ever built on this spot again?
Yeah, there was a coffee house here at one point, and it was recently, like in the early 2000s, a restaurant called Molly Darcy's. It was an Irish pub. And apparently there was a woman seen in a blue dress inside that restaurant. But the date of the dress is after Eliza. They think it was from her aunt that used to come down and visit often. So, alright, let me give you guys the answers to those questions just so you're not left in the dark. You know that the house caught fire. Eliza Lucas Pinckney. Lucas was the maiden name that we were looking for the indigo planter. The wife before that was Eliza Lamb Pinckney. So Lamb and Lucas. Lucas died at the age of 70 from breast cancer. And that was in Philadelphia, and that's also where she's buried. So she's not even buried here in Charleston. Now Charles, he's buried here. So again, take it for what it's worth. The answers that I normally get on every other night, I don't know all the things that you didn't hear, so we'll have to see what comes up in the morning. George Washington was the pallbearer.
Oh, wow.
And I've gotten George Washington as an EVP before, and that was like, I got it like twice in 1 week, and I was like, because I recognize the patterns. So I was like, what the hell does that even have to do with anything? So I had to find out what the relationship was, and he was a pallbearer, and I didn't know that. I only knew it from the research that I did from your tours. So I had to email all those people back, like, check this out! So that's why I said George Washington twice. Harriet was the daughter's name, and they used to write letters back and forth. So a lot of times things will come up like pen, letters, writing, anything that deals with them two writing letters back and forth. I think what else did I cover with that? Charles, when I go after questions for him, because a lot of times when I have two spirit boxes running in the team, and you guys are pestering, Eliza, I go after Charles. And Charles, at times, if I have a skeptic with me, I usually try to prove it. Like, Charles, go ahead and put your name on the box in my hand. Boom, it's happened to me twice. Like, right, it's almost like on call. But he doesn't always do that. He likes to give me little clues just about himself. So when he is here and hanging out and wants us to know that he's here, he'll give us the word October twice. Why? Because he was born in October and he died in October. So, Eliza's birthday was December 22nd. She got married at the age of 22. So I often hear the number 22 here because of that significance. So, with all that being said, how are we doing on time?
Do you know what month she was married?
Don't. Why? Did you hear a month?
No, we got 9 though. When we were talking about how old she was.
I can find out.
Remember?
I can find out for sure. That's very interesting that you're just random at this point.
Yeah.
I've got, in terms of time, we're at about 50 minutes of recording time.
I was looking, honestly, I just kind of like to make sure, if we're not getting a whole lot of activity here, I don't want to cut your tour short because one area was, so that way I know how to kind of gauge the rest of the tour. So again, I'm not the 90 minutes guy. We're like, okay, it's 90 minutes, we're done. If we go to 2 hours because we have a lot of activity in the next locations, we hang out for 2 hours. I don't care. I don't have a tour at 9 o'clock tonight. So again, that's just kind of how I am with my tours. That's the difference between me and the other guys.
Really is not.
Can I ask where your cell phone is, or maybe what's inside your purse?
What is?
I'm talking about you.
Oh, this one?
Yeah. Is your cell phone in your
my
purse?
cell phone's right here. In my pocket.
Okay. And it's still going off. So go ahead and extend it out to me like this. Touch my cell phone. See how my cell phone is giving a little bit of a pulse?
Yeah.
That's what we don't want.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything consistent like that.
Okay.
It's been, kind of erratic.
Yeah, it's good. Well, again, might just be one of those nights where I have to really research, and the fact that he may have saw something on the camera, that's positive stuff. So I'll listen to your spirit box in the morning for sure, and give you some markers if I find anything, and we'll kind of take it from there. We are going to go up 4 blocks to Lodge Alley. obviously a mask up area. You guys are already there. So by all means, keep filming. Your EMF's going to go crazy because of the parking meters. You can pretty much ignore it. So don't get excited.
Okay, I won't.
As far as your spirit box, if you're going to listen to it on the way there, listen for names. I'm not going to tell you which names or why names, but I'll explain once we get there because it'll make much more sense once we get
Do I
to
need
that
to
location.
ask for names or just listen?
This is a just listen kind of portion.
Okay.
And if you guys want to ask me anything along the way, because it's a good 4 to 5 minute walk, by all means, do so. But let's go have some more fun.
I think the ghosts like you, Allison.
I think so too.
You think what?
They know that you're related.
Yeah.
They must, right?
I've been to the family house. It's actually really, really pretty.
The family house?
He's a walking tour guide.
And your wife's like,
Bringing proper, I guess, is the right word. And I used her to like reading playing cards, and tarot cards, and all that stuff. And with me as a writer, she is in photography and graphic design. She does all of my extra work for me. She does all my book covers, my headshots. She designed the Stories in the Cemetery logo from scratch. Like she does all of my extra graphics. So we have a little publishing thing going on at home between my books, podcast, blog, all of the extra stuff I do for stories. So she does all the extra stuff for me. Like we have 2 offices at home. So if she believes her, she is now. She really was. Of course she met me. But even about my in-laws, like when they're in town, I bring them on the tour. They love this stuff. We just went to, because they live in Pittsburgh. And my wife said, well, we're going to be up there for 7 days. That means 5 days. We're going to be in Pennsylvania. And I need to take a year.
Did you hear anything?
Were you saying something?
No.
Oh.
I said nothing.
I got a very loud you.
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 You. Soldier boy. Soldier boy.
I just now realized what a chatty person gets the thing they have to listen to all the time.
This is a cool looking restaurant. That's where I'm gonna take my Bumble date.
Yeah, right. I'm not gonna start paying for meals.
This is being recorded, Kelly. Oh, this is cool. The name of the restaurant is High Cotton.
High class.
Yeah. A little weird.
So.
Am I real?
What? It's right behind you.
There's a skeleton inside you.
Well, that here you go.
Ooh, cool.
Owie.
My sister's getting married in one of the most haunted places in New England.
Who is she?
Who is she?
No, I said, oh, is she?
Oh, yeah.
And what would that be?
Mount Washington Hotel Resort.
Huh. Why is
Or
it
Mount
haunted?
Washington Hotel. It just is. The owner's wife died, and they say she wanders the halls.
Ooh.
So, welcome to. I'm going to take this wall. I'm going to come up this far and just go down there. But the security guys have been. Like, that's a quiet area because of the hotel. So, this is Lodge Alley. Did you hear any names along the way?
The only thing that I heard was you very loud at one point.
Interesting. I did get the name Chris, so I'm going to have to look into that. This used to be a street where people lived. These two giant buildings that are on the side of us, they weren't here. This was open space. As you can see, the roadway is only wide enough for a horse and buggy. So, again, the city of Charleston much skinnier. Those buildings down at the edge, down in East Bay, weren't there. The smell of low tide would be coming through here. So, sorry, I'm trying to catch my breath from wearing that mask, so if I'm gasping. I hate this stupid thing. But anyway, the smell of low tide would come through here, which means the people that lived here were probably lower class. They were able to prove that by doing an archaeological dig in between these really cool bricks you guys are walking on. This is one of the oldest streets in Charleston. Not many tourists come down here either. I do get weird shadows. I do get weird light green orbs that show up here in pictures. Doesn't matter which phone you're using. Doesn't matter if you're using my digital camera, SLR cameras. The green orb shows up all the time, and it's never in the same spot. I even have a video of it moving in midair and then whisking away. So it's been crazy. So if you're interested in orbs, I did do a study on that as well. You'll find that in my blog post. But the Masons also used to meet down here. And the significant thing about me asking for names is because those people that lived here, I had the full list of residents of all the people that have ever lived here. The common name I get down here is Benjamin. Benjamin lived here in 1801. At times, there'll be a John in the same night or the same tour while I'm walking through here. There was a John that lived here also in 1801. There was only 4 people that lived here in 1801. The fact that I have 50% of those people that like to show me their names. And granted, there were 3 other Johns that lived here during the 75 years that it was resident area. But at the same token, it's not a coincidence that Benjamin and John have showed themselves to me more than one time. So it just seems very, I don't want to say ironic, but to me it's proof. But again, we get weird tendrils of cold spots in here, so hopefully as you were walking through here, especially through this particular area, you'll see some cold areas that don't make a whole lot of sense, and they kind of give a little bit of shape. Like they almost look like tendril arms that come up out of nowhere, and then they just kind of wisp away. I've seen that several times. I have pictures with weird shadows that don't make any sense. Now granted, when I give a digital camera out, there's a lot of weird lighting in here. And like I was just telling you, my wife, she does all the photography work for Stories in the Cemetery. So when I see something that I'm like, I don't know what this is, I send it to her. She's the pro. And her day job is she works for Best Buy as the cell phone manager. That woman knows every camera on every damn cell phone from now until 2010. So if you say, oh, it was an iPhone 4, it did this because, she'll tell us why. So that's the cool thing about having the wife at home, and if she believes her, there's some stuff that she's been like, yeah, I have no idea what the hell happened here. That phone should have not have done that. Or that green orb showed up again, and I can't figure it out. So, because she knows all the science behind all those phones too. It's her job. So, it's kind of a nice thing about having the wife at home, because she actually gives a shit about my job. So, and this ain't even a job, really. I mean, this is my business. This is what I wanted. But by the way, I left a 6-figure job to do this. Like, I was doing really well for myself. And I said, you know what? Retail management, 21 years, I'm done. I walked away. When I started doing this and writing books full time, I'm almost done with my master's degree. So hopefully next year I start my PhD program for studying the paranormal, and I'll be a doctor of ghosts when I'm done. So all the skeptics out there, I'll be able to prove them wrong. For sure. Not with just actual evidence, but with science. The writer's going to go to school for science, right? So this is a really cool place, guys. If you've never been down here, the hotel that you guys are leaned on right now, that is the Lodge Alley Inn. It is named after this. It is a blue-green property. I have had some of their salesmen on my tours before, and they do verify that room 304 is haunted. Now, none of the hotels down here will give me free rooms, so I'm not verifying or condoning any of their own ghosts. So I'm going to be knocking on doors again come January, now that I'm a little bit more established here in town, and my billboard will hopefully be up in January as well. So I won't be just the guy that's in everybody's way. I'll be the guy that takes everybody ghost hunting and have a good time. But yeah, room 304 in this place, apparently there's all kinds of things that happen. When I do my own investigations, I go in blind. I don't want to know the history. I don't want to know what other claims were. I don't want to, like, I gave you kind of suggestive thoughts at the beginning. I didn't on the second location because I want you to go in a little bit blind. I want you to kind of listen for those terms. When I go into a new location, I don't want to know anything. I want to be able to look at the evidence, walk away, review it, and then read up on it. For example, I just got back from a Flight 93 memorial in Shanksville. Okay, now nobody's ever deemed that place haunted before. That was one of our 9/11 attacks, in case you didn't know what flight that was. So I went in there, not knowing much about the flight, who took it over, who was on the plane, nothing. I had your spirit box on mute in my pocket, that camera, cargo pocket with just the camera sticking out. My phone was doing its thing, and I checked the EMF meter from time to time. I wasn't flashing lasers and asking staff for ghost stories. It's disrespectful. So when I go to museums and all this stuff during the daytime, just like you guys, I'm ghost hunting. I just review it all later. Now, I did review all the data, went through all the lists, got everything I thought was relevant, and then I read about 3 or 4 books on just that flight, learned a shit ton about what happened that day on that flight, went back to the data and found even more. You see how I went in blind, not knowing much? That's kind of how I like to do this. And again, even all the places I do around here, I just got back from Fort Sumter. I'd never been there before. I lived here for almost 4 years. Took all my gear, put it on me, went and enjoyed the museum. I still got to review the data and put up an episode. So hopefully, fingers crossed, there's some stuff in there that makes sense. And it's not a not haunted location, because Fort Sumter is Fort Sumter. It better be haunted. But we are going to walk through the rest of this alley. We're going to go up to the next one, but we are going to be cutting through a neighborhood. So your spirit box just kind of at an even keel. These people are winding down from their day. We don't want to disrupt anybody. But let me know if any weird tendrils come out of there. And I was also standing here for an extra few minutes just in case more names wanted to pop up in your recording or on my list, which again, I only have the name Chris. So if there's a Christopher on the list, I'll be excited. And then again, I will pass that list off to you so you can see the archaeological dig with the list of residents. So, questions, comments, concerns about this place? It's an interesting lot. So again, not many tours come down through here. Pretty cool place. You guys come downtown often? Bill?
Not too much.
Don't play.
We used to.
Yeah.
I did the
Before
same. Like
COVID.
my first year, we lived in Mount Pleasant. We lived off the Long Point in Bell Hall. And we didn't come, we came downtown, I don't know, probably once a month. But living down here for the past 8 years, I'm lucky if I get one beach day per year. Like, they don't make a time for it. Whoever come down and look at buildings and know more about their architecture.
You want to steal that stop sign?
What?
Do you want to steal that stop sign?
Obviously, you're on camera, Willie.
I mean, do you want to not steal that?
You're gonna be a law-abiding.
So you can always find out where you're at in town by looking for the same color steeple, because you can pretty much see it from everywhere, because we have an ordinance here that says buildings can only go so high, so that way we don't hide our church steeples. So we are about to walk through Philadelphia Alley. You guys have never been on a ghost tour, so you don't even know where you're at. So this is a very popular ghost tour stop. So I don't like to go in there and tell you the story because we often get interrupted with other tours. So I tell the story out here. This is also where I had to change my tour over the past couple of weeks. A few weeks ago, actually it was the day before Thanksgiving, apparently we have a new neighbor in town. And tour guides are allowed to pass through neighborhoods. We're just not allowed to do tour guidey things. I was bringing a group through, and this guy just come out screaming. So, in order to avoid a ticket violation on my end, I just rerouted my tour. So you're actually getting more out of it. When we go through here, we're going to make a right and go up and around. Sounds like a carriage. Was that a carriage?
I don't know what that was.
But this is Philadelphia Alley now. It used to be called Dueler's Alley. So it was in take 20 paces, turn and shoot kind of duels. And then before that, it was called Cow Alley, because this is where we kept all the livestock for Charlestown. So cows, chickens, pigs, all kinds of things were down in here. It's a little skinny alley. It's not much wider than where we just came out of. We all tell the same story because it's a duel, and we can prove it. And we have the tools and gizmos and devices and all that stuff to be able to prove it or disprove it. there was a doctor that moved down here. We talked about a doctor earlier, right? We thought we heard something. He moved down here from Rhode Island. Keep those initials in mind, RI from Rhode Island, because they come up again later, and they could show up on our spirit boxes, and they have in the past. He was supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. There was an attorney handling all of the money for Amanda, and he said, "You're not getting married. I think he's just after your money. Send the doctor away." So the doctor, to prove his point that he's not just after Amanda's money, comes to Charleston. So he moves into town, and the coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. Not a very good start to his new life here in Charleston. So somebody walking by named Ralph Isaacs with the initials RI sees what's going on, and he says, "You don't want to stay here. Let me take you somewhere else." He takes him to 59 Church Street, about 1.5 miles up the road a little bit. So that makes sense later on in the story. So I don't just say things to say things. So anyway, the two become friends. Ralph's an attorney here in town. The doctor's practice starts to take off. He's making lots of money. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. He's a pretty happy guy. Amanda's going to be moving down soon, and he's proving his point. So, with that being said, Ralph and him used to go see plays together, but the doctor's in a different part of society, so he gets better tickets and better seats. So he can't even sit next to his friend. So they have to talk about the plays on the way home. One night they go see Richard III from Shakespeare, and no tour guide can tell you which theater they went to, because there were dozens here at the time. Also, a little side note, Edgar Allan Poe's mother was also a traveling actress during the same time period. So, yeah, she used to travel through here. And there's more about Edgar Allan Poe later. I'll tell you more about him if you don't know much about his stay here in Charleston. Do you guys know anything about that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why there's like a whole bunch of restaurants named after him in Sullivan's Island and
Yeah,
stuff.
well, there's one.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's like the only place I'll actually go out to eat, because I don't eat out much. But anyway, not much here. You might get something once we get into the alley itself. So where was I? Oh, they were talking about the new actress on the way home after seeing Richard III, and the doctor loves the new actress. Ralph does not. They start arguing, turns into an insult party on the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home. So they obviously get pretty pissed off at each other, and they go their separate ways. Now, I told you Ralph was from here, so he calls up his friends at the newspaper, puts an ad in the paper, tells the entire city of Charleston what a disgrace the doctor is. He's not one of us, he's not from here, takes too much of our money, so forth and so on. The doctor rebuttals with, "Let's go to Dueler's Alley." Now, we ignorant Americans here in 2020, when we think of a duel, what's going to happen?
Oh, God.
Someone's going to die. That's wrong. But 25% of the time, somebody did die. Roughly 25%. When they did die, there's a doorway over there where they would pick up the dead body from the duel, take him through the courtyard and over to St. Philip's Cemetery, drop the body, and go celebrate the winner. That's how it went down if somebody died. The other 75% of the time, it was a matter of courage and bravery. You're willing to take a bullet for whatever you're fighting over. A lot of times, the first bullet was shot into the air or into the ground. So, with that said, the doctor and Ralph come down here, they 20 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He wants to forgive his friend, he didn't want to kill him, but he was willing to take a bullet for Amanda. He did, in the kneecap. So, Ralph shot him in the knee, one shot. He didn't die, he didn't go through the death gate, so his friends pick him up and they carry him the 1.5 miles to his house, 59 Church Street, the Thomas Rose house. So, he dies 10 days later. So what's the moral of the story? Don't get engaged to Amanda. You're gonna die. Okay. You're supposed to laugh at that. It's a joke. Making sure everybody's paying attention. So, at any rate, they say as you walk or you're near this alley, you can hear whistles from the doctor. He is the Whistling Doctor. You can Google the Whistling Doctor and get a very long version of this story, but I have two that I can't debunk from your regular audio. Now, we do have a lot of hecklers in town, and they like to walk by and give us a fake one. So there's a fake one for your audio. When you're listening to this later, this is where you're going to turn your audio up. You're going to be listening for very faint melodic whistles. Now, it's kind of funny. Over the past few weeks, I've been getting whistles from your spirit box. It's coming from a commercial or whatever, but it's still a whistle while I'm in the Whistling Doctor's alley. So I kind of took it as, okay, he didn't want to give it to me on the regular audio. He gave it to me on the spirit box. So it is what it is. We'll take it. But we also hear words wrapped around Ralph, attorney, law, financials, doctor from the doctorate, or doctorate from the doctor, shot, knee. They also say you can hear gunshots, by the way, which I'll call BS on that one, because I have yet to hear anything. And normally I would take you through the whole length of the alley. We're obviously going to be cutting through just this very short edge of it, but if you're picture takers, this is the most beautiful spot in Charleston. So if you've never been here, whip out those phones and take as many pictures as possible, because it is gorgeous. I don't hear any other tours in there. I'm always fearful that we're going to get interrupted. That's why we're out here. I'm trying to think. What else?
Did he die? I mean, from the gunshot wound?
He died from the gunshot wound,
So he got infected or something?
apparently, and he was a
Yikes.
doctor. So figure that one out. I get asked that question all the time. But yeah, and I thought that one of the stories I read said 2 gunshots, but somebody proved a point. There's no way that Ralph would have been able to load a second shot. So I went back and found a few other stories that did confirm it was 1 shot to the kneecap. So his friends did carry him home, probably hobbled him home, kind of thing, and he died 10 days later from the infection of the shot. Group from last night. I told you guys, like, you'll have to scroll down for your tours. She's not understanding where hers is. So, that's fine. But yeah, we're going to take a quick look at this alley. And again, if you're picture takers, by all means, get those phones out. This is another great shot of St. Philip's. We're actually going to go down and around pretty close to St. Philip's, and maybe if there's any tours up there. Give you the sound effect of the game.
Whoa. Spooky.
I gotta get that last rumble in. It's like the only creepy thing on the tour, man. I gotta give it to you. Again, there's houses at the end of this. Like, people live there. So that guy come out screaming, "You know, you're not supposed to be up here, yada, yada, yada." My group actually stepped in and started screaming back out. I kept walking. Like, I'm not gonna give this guy a hard time. But yeah, this place is gorgeous. Is this Wallace original?
Kelly, would you take a bullet for me?
For you?
Yeah. Would you duel for my honor?
Why?
I don't know, just cuz.
No.
What?
She said no.
Any ghosts around me, Willie?
I don't see nothing.
What's the dynamic here?
All friends. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's a couple involved or...
No couple, no nothing.
Apparently she found her. She found her entrance.
I want one of these old houses.
When I first was gonna move here, I thought oh wow, all the apartments are gonna be in these old gorgeous houses and stuff. Do you know what happened to Amanda?
Do you hear any whistling?
I think it's been pretty quiet
I know.
after they all flocked to you at the house.
Seriously.
What the heck?
Again, you have to remember, this part of the tour is beautiful. I've seen all these cars in that parking lot, and I'm wondering if I'm even allowed to go to the church on Sunday night. It's odd. So, I'll kind of get started here, because there's a lot that goes on with this corner. And we'll kind of see where this is going to end up. Because again, there's a lot here. I've been taking folks over to, yeah, it's a good sitting spot. So, the building we just passed over there on the corner, that's Bachi's restaurant, or at least it used to be. So they moved out of town because the place is just too haunted. So doors don't stay locked, and there's mirrors that fall off in the bathroom, off the wall, and they don't break. So I kind of take that as a portal. So if something's coming through, and it knocks it off the wall, and it's still coming through as it's on the ground. So again, take that for what it's worth. If I were to ever start a store, which is the goal, is to have a ghost hunting equipment and bookstore with a haunted hotel upstairs, that would be my building. So either there or where we started at Big John's. Those are the two places that me and the wife are eyeballing for our 5-year plan. So they're both empty right now. Big John's is being turned into something. I don't know what and when it's going to open, so hopefully they don't make it. So I can have a store. So, let's see, we'll go with the story up here. So there's two different sides of the cemetery at St. Philip's. The side that you guys are leaned on, which is right past this courtyard, is for native Charlestonians only. The other side is for everybody else. Now, Calhoun, Vice President, is buried on the other side. He's been moved several times. So they finally figured out he's not originally from here. Move him over. You can go visit his grave. He's a Carsophagus. So they could just pick him up and move him. I think it's been moved like 3 different times. There is a sign right inside, like on the other side of this wrought iron gate, that says there's no ghost at St. Philip's but the Holy Ghost. There's a reason. 1888, there was a woman that died 10 days after her stillborn child. Her name was Sue Howard Hardy. Now, Sue Howard Hardy, she
And then later, someone was like, where is she?
He's just between all the cemeteries. He actually captures a full apparition wearing a shawl with a baby basket next to him. Now, 1989, no cell phones, no Photoshop, none of that mess that we can manipulate pictures and try to figure out what the hell's going on. He sends it off to Kodak. They still can't debunk the picture. So the photo's Curtis. I don't show it on my tours because it said the females that hold it start to not feel well. Kind of the things I told you about at Big John's. A pregnant girl that holds it is not going to have a pregnancy. Like, I'm not going into that mess. I don't need that liability. I'm a very superstitious person. I'm not going there. So there's a lot of ties here. So on the opposite side of the western half of the cemetery is the pirate house. You guys can see their gas lamps burning off in the distance. So somebody lives there. That's their house. But that's where the pirates would come in off a Blackbeard ship, go have a drink, meet with a few girls, and go catch a show at Dock Street Theater. And Dock Street Theater is one block past that, and there was a tunnel from the pirate house over to Dock Street Theater. We filled it in the 1990s, so it was there all that time, so over 100 years. They said that there was supposed to be Blackbeard's treasure. Again, BS. We all know it's in North Carolina. Now, I bring all of this up because Dock Street Theater ties into the last big story here besides the Powder Magazine. So Dock Street Theater used to be Dock Street. That's why it was called Dock Street Theater. Then we turned it into Planters Hotel. Had prostitution there, yada yada yada. Then we turned it back into Dock Street Theater that we know now. But in the meantime, this street got renamed Church Street because St. Philip's was the only building that couldn't move to widen the road. That's why it goes around it. And then it goes back over it. So, Dock Street Theater during Planters Hotel times, there was a young lady that worked here at the church. I'm like, gotta catch my breath. So there was a young lady that worked here. Her name was Nettie Dickerson. And Nettie, past the marrying age of 17, she was 23, wasn't very happy because nobody wanted her. She sees all the prostitution going on down at Planters Hotel, and she goes down there to go get a job. She's the best loved girl in the whole place. However, she's still unhappy. She used to go out to the second story balcony, and she used to ponder about coming back down here to the church. And one night, the priest sees this and goes down there to go talk to her, and a storm rolls in, lightning strikes the wrought iron banister that she's leaned on, and strikes her dead. I know, my stories always end so great, don't they? So, with that being said, they say you can see Nettie from the knees up only. Why is that? Because when we turned her from Planters back to Dock Street that we know now, we raised that first floor ceiling. She's walking on the floor that she knows. So you can only see her from the knees up. So,
That's why it broke. Wait.
very interesting corner because there's a lot that goes on here. You can imagine there's, like I try to tie everything into your devices too. So normally what I do from here, I don't want to interrupt the church parking lot. We're actually going to the front of the building, but I'll tell you what goes on first. This is the Powder Magazine that's across that parking lot. Okay, the Powder Magazine is our oldest government building here in Charleston. Okay, 1713. It's constructed by 32-inch thick walls. Okay, and it's called a groin vaulted ceiling because they all meet in the middle of the building, so it looks like a groin vault. The roof that you see with the red shingles actually has sand underneath it from 1712. It's the original sand from when they built the building. So that is meant in case we were to get attacked from the water and it gets hit with gunpowder inside of it, the impact of the explosion would stay inside the building only. That's what the big thick walls and the sand was meant to do. It was never attacked. There was no deaths ever occurred there. However, they say that there's a pirate that's attached to this. Now, I wasn't a big believer in this story. That's why I didn't like coming up here until I started getting evidence last week because I had to change my tour, kind of figure things out. Stuff started coming through. Blog is not a word that is going to come through from a pirate. I'm sure. All right, so there was a young lady named Anne Bonny. Anne Bonny, her father made her marry a young man named James, and she wasn't real happy with that. So she decided she's going to have an affair with a pirate named Calico Jack. Jack owned the ship. She decided she's going to join that ship. She's going to become part of the crew. However, she's a girl, so she has to dress up like a man to become part of the crew. Once she's on the ship, part of the crew, she sees another female doing the exact same thing that she's doing. Her name was Mary Reed. Now, the ship was ambushed, and all the pirates were tried and hung for piracy, except for Anne and Mary. So, don't ask me what happened to Jack in the meantime. I have no idea. So, or if he even knew that she was on the ship. I don't think I know that either. So, Mary and Anne both claimed that they were pregnant. So their trial was delayed, and Anne is from Ireland, and her father was a very prominent person over in Ireland and paid her parole to get her out of jail. Mary Reed stayed in jail and died a year later. Now, Anne lived a very long life to be 84 years old. This was the pirate I was telling you about earlier, about 84, when something came through, the number 84. So we're going to actually walk through, like go actually up Cumberland to the front of the building, and we're going to be listening to your spirit box. I want to get some film of the front, because normally I just take people to the side, but this is kind of crazy with all this church garage parking here, so I'm kind of learning the curve here. But again, there's so much that goes on in this corner. I never know which direction to take everybody in, because there's so much, and a lot of times every other tour will stop at the front of the church, but if church is in session, I'm not going to be disrespectful since they don't want me there anyway. On a Saturday night, that's a different story. So, all right, let's get you guys up off your butts and start listening to your spirit box. See if you can catch any of those kind of key phrases from that Anne Bonny story.
Musical ballad.
Traffic was for Tommy Condon.
Yeah, the Celtics flag.
This thing did serve in 7 different wars. And you have to remember, they moved gunpowder around. So it didn't serve it from start to finish. It would be like, okay, move the gunpowder to Charleston. Okay, get it out of Charleston. They had to keep moving it to hide it. So it's an interesting place if you've never been in there. It's really cheap to get in. I think I have a season pass for like $9. Like, I can go there all year. Only because I like their library. They have books in there that I can't find anywhere else. But like the gallows that they have over there and that kind of thing, like there was no killings or jail here. Like, well, they just do that stuff for show. But it is an interesting building, and they do have uniforms in there from all the different wars that it served in, which is super cool to check out. We do actually have a little bit of EMF, but it is pretty steady. Now, they used to do what we're doing here tonight, just here, years ago. Apparently that didn't work out too well. So I don't know how long they would hang out here, stay inside these gates in the building. Like, I don't know, have all those details, but somebody told me that when I first got this started, and I'm like, really? Just at the Powder Magazine? Because every time I've been in here, like, just walking through, doing my book thing, I get no activity at all. Like, nothing would make sense out of here. Like, I just got the word hockey. So right now I don't have anything. But over the past few days, I did get the name Anne on November, when was that? November 28th? Had to have been. November 28th, that was the 300th anniversary of their trial, Anne and Mary's trial. And I did get November 28th and trial that night. So again, 300th anniversary, I was like, we'll probably get something. I was hoping for something because this was still, I mean, it's still relatively new on the tour, but we'll see what comes out of your spirit box. Did you hear anything up along the way here?
Yeah, musical ballad.
Nope. I'm looking for pirates. So again, and I got the word dance. So again, there's no tie to Anne Bonny to this location of any reason why she is seen here. It's just, they say that she's just a strong presence here, and sometimes you can see her throughout Charleston. So again, I wasn't a believer in the story because there was no proof. There was no history of how she was tied to the building. She was never jailed here. So again, the fact that I was getting anything was kind of a, all right, I'll take it. See what goes with this. And now I'm super focused on the end of your tours now with Spirit Box and the video, just to see if that way I can collect and you know, kind of make sure what I'm doing over this way is the correct story that I should be telling. But with that said, what questions do you guys have? I'm really interested to see what that thing was you saw at the Pinckney Mansion site.
Yeah.
I'll be looking for that first thing.
We'll see.
That was really interesting. There was so much activity when we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, if I can make that a grand finale, I would. But I like to give the Big John's health hazard, just so you guys know what you're prepared for. And I don't really want to take that location out. So, I mean, I technically could start like the circular church and then end at Pinckney Mansion, but...
Is Pinckney, it's always like that? It's always
No.
pretty active?
I've had... No, that was actually pretty mild, I'll be honest. I've seen it like super active, like I have stuff coming out of every device. And then there's other nights, no. The EMF is even dead. Like, that's how I know that it's a true haunting. I don't want the exact same thing every night. That's why I tell you from the beginning. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you to places I've had activity in the past. If you get activity, awesome. It might be something, like when I look at everything collectively, it might be something totally wrapped around Big John and his teammates that we catch that we didn't catch in real time. So, again, I never know what the theme is until I look at it in the morning. I just get it all converted overnight, so that way when I wake up, I can get started right away and try to get it back to you guys as quickly as possible.
That's going to be a lot of work.
Well, I don't go through, you have to remember, you have an hour and a half,
Yeah.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
There's 4.5 hours right there, right? So I'm not going to go through 4.5 hours worth of data.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at Pinckney Mansion. I'm obviously focused here so I can collect more stuff from here. And I want to see, I always take a look at Philadelphia Alley. So I kind of look at the timestamps and I see where the words came out of this spirit box, and it kind of gives me clues on where to look first. Because this is my first thing that I do, is I give you the links of why this stuff's relative, and then I start going through, again, I put about 2 hours worth of work into each tour. So with your guys' stuff, I'll probably sleep in a little bit tomorrow, since I only had one tour. And I take Mondays off anyway, it's a school day for me. So I'll probably have your stuff to you by 11:30 at the latest, and then kind of see what we capture out of that. And again, if you'll have all my, I'm giving you my contact info too, so if you guys capture more, send it over. I'll either verify it or debunk it for you. Either way, I still get texts all the time. That's why I give you guys everything, because I'm not going to review it all. You guys are. So I'm sure one of you is going to sit down for a good 8 hours and start writing shit down and saying, Nick, you're never going to believe all the stuff you missed. It happens. So for just an example, out of the word list, somebody actually texted me and said, that cat's name is Radar. The word cat and radar were right next to each other in the word list. I don't know you guys like that. So it was just kind of a, okay, it could be related to you. You could take it for what it's worth. Now, if somebody's name pops up, that's a different story. You said your name to me at the very beginning, so obviously we put it out into the universe. If it spits it back to us, it is what it is.
How did you get started doing this?
You got my whole story on one way.
Yeah, sorry, I was listening.
No,
I was trying to listen to the thing as you were walking.
I was raised in an Orthodox house. My parents never believed me because it was a sin to be doing this kind of stuff. I'll give 3 cards over to you. You don't need your present. So when my mom made me burn my first set of tarot cards, she took me over to my grandmother's house, and then she told me the family secret.
Hello, good evening. How are you? How is everybody?
Good.
Good.
But anyway, so my grandmother used to be able to read playing cards as like tarot cards, like fortune telling, which is the original intention for playing cards. It was a family secret that only me, her, and I had an aunt that knew. That was it. So I just kind of took off with it from there. Started writing books. I used to be a musician, and then I quit playing music and started writing books. And I've been writing books since I was 20. That was 22 years ago. So I decided to go back into school for it. And I've been doing afterlife stuff ever since. As far as ghost hunting, I started off no devices, just working with a psychic. I was going to write a book about him and his abilities. So I would pick him up, take him to a haunted location, and not tell him anything. Go in blind. Just to see what he came up with. That was in Myrtle Beach. We started getting doors slammed in our faces. So the book became a blog, then it became the podcast, and here we are with the tour. So now I figured with the tools and the devices, like my daughter comes on the tours, half this stuff used to be hers. So it was a birthday gift one year for her to have her own ghost hunting devices, and then when I left that 6-figure job, I'm like, give me your shit back. Dad's got a new idea. So, but the tours have actually been going really well. I'm surprised at the response that I get. So, I mean, you guys read the reviews, I'm sure. It blows my mind that people, because all my life I was told to hide this, hide my, eagerness to want to find more answers. And the fact that I'm collecting all this data, that's what's helping me get into that PhD program. So all of your guys' data, that's what I'm sending over to that college, because they want to see that I'm already in my field. So I'll literally have thousands of hours with the camera and the audio, pictures. Like there's over 6,000 pictures on Facebook that I've been collecting with each tour. So they're not all evidence, but it's still 6,000 pictures so far that have been taken through my tours, just from the locations you guys visited tonight. So, but yeah, that's how I got started. I never stopped learning. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So I got some new devices in play for 2021 for my own investigations. They're a little bit more complicated, like using Tesla coils and weird scientific experiments to see if they actually work. But I watched some old TV shows today before I met with you guys about old style, like the things that they used to do. Like their EMF meters weren't as sophisticated. Like it had one light. That was it. Just bloop, there's activity. That's what they did. Their cameras, ridiculous. These giant monster cameras that they're trying to use to catch orbs and spirits. I'm like, man. But it was interesting to watch. Just nice to know where all this started. But I'm going to take that camera from you and your spirit box now that we should have a pretty good long recording.
You ready to start?
I don't. So my stuff is based off of my one series that I have is Greek mythology, the underworld, of course, and then I have the book I'm working on now for my thesis is based on Atlantis being part of the afterlife, heaven, hell, purgatory, and after Atlantis. So I'm building a whole new world with that.